Today we're in the outskirts of Johannesburg in an estate that's surrounded by equestrian farms. Now, while we enjoy following trends, we have an abiding love for the classics. And so when we were invited to this contemporary equestrian farmhouse, we just had to visit this neighborhood. Today's finest home is a family home that pays homage to classic barn-style architecture. The owners, Adrian and Daniela Morris, run their own bespoke architecture studio. They design with a respect to the past and an eye on the future, creating homes that resemble sophistication and ease. They took some time out of their busy schedule to meet with me and share their home with us. Okay, now I see how the exterior totally sets you up for the interior. Talk to me about the style of the interior.
So both Daniela and I have a deep love for old buildings, especially churches and factories and barns. So what we try to do with the house is to really kind of create this simple, honest building. And we, in terms of the interior design, we brought a lot of the structural elements into the house and expressed them. So like, the big kind of raw brick chimney fireplace, which goes all the way through the roof, the big steel I-beams that kind of hold up the structure, and kind of linked to that is like the types of old buildings we also really love as ones that are repurposed. I think part of the style we try to create with these I-beams and the exposed brick is that it was almost like a found building that we repurposed.
Barn, like an old-fashioned barn that we gutted and refitted to a home.
I see the clever use of materials here with the brick and the metal that really speaks to the longevity of this aesthetic. It's almost like this home could have been around for years and years and years, and yet it still speaks to today's taste palette.
So I think like a big part of it is we wanted a really simple material palette, and we wanted the house to be like filled with light, that it was less about kind of like applied finishes, and then to really use the kind of furnishings as like fashion pieces.
Yes.
They're kind of like, it adds the color and the texture. I mean, Daniela has a background in fashion, so that really.
Speaking of fashion, I mean, contemporary equestrian home just gives me all the Ralph Lauren feels I could possibly have.
That's exactly the inspiration. I mean, Ralph Lauren it's that country vibe with the plants that your outside is coming inside. You always feel that you have a view and that you with nature and the greenery,
laid back luxury.
Yes. And we also wanted it to feel, we love spending December holidays here with family. We wanted it to feel that like resort, that we on holiday, the pool is there, we can lounge around and have that freedom of inside and outside.
One of our great loves is also like boutique country hotels. You'll see in the styling, it's very eclectic, and we quite like that. All the little pieces are from somewhere or maybe have a story. So it's kind of, it's cobbled together, and it's kind of styled around like how we live and kind of who we are as like people.
And around our children,
I'm blown away by how much you've packed up into this space. And I'm glad I don't have to actually decide what my favorite part is. Can you talk me through the configuration of the layout in the space that we're in?
Well, as modern families, we all have busy lives, so we wanted a space where we could spend time and be together. So it's just really a big, simple kind of open style space. We've got the kitchen anchoring at the back, which has a window into the garden, and it flows into a dining room. There's this like lounge space, which we use as a formal lounge or as a family lounge in the evenings, and all that flows out onto a big, generous patio, which goes out onto a really nice kind of alfresco gravelled garden. So I mean, it's just really it's a space that can live big or a space that can live small, and I think that's something that we were quite intentional about.
And we can also, I can always see the kids, and they can be sitting here, they can join me while I'm cooking. So it's all about being together, and in this busy lifestyle that we have, I think it's great. Family's the most important thing about our home.
Sure, I mean, still high-end and fashionable, but also family-friendly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Creating it as if it were an old barn that was completely stripped, the bottom floor layout of the home is a wonderfully inviting open space, flooded with natural light. From the front door, you're drawn to the light and airy kitchen, seamlessly passing through the lounge and dining room. Now, I have to say, the kitchen area really does feel like the hero of the space.
So what we did is, from where you enter the home, we anchored the kitchen at the back of the space. We went for a really large counter. We love to kind of cook and spend time in the kitchen. So we made a real statement piece out of it, and the kind of aesthetic is a blend of kind of contemporary and classic. So you'll see it's got these really cool like hand-carved moldings. And then just to kind of anchor it from a scale perspective is we put this huge picture window at the back, which obviously provides a lot of natural light in the day, but it just really creates a wonderful vista from when you walk in, and it really anchors like all the spaces with these like long views out onto the paddocks next to the house.
And also we wanted the kitchen to be timeless. We wanted it to feel like almost like a shop counter and a space that we can all gather around, whether it be a big family function or just our family breakfast time, we all around, and there's plenty space for everyone to have their little spot here.
I mean, you've got to question Farmhouse to a T, but how much of this speaks to your personal style?
I think all of the house in some way. I mean, when we first met, we had very like different tastes.
Yeah,
Daniela was
completely different tastes.
was a lot more kind of like eclectic. I was a lot more, I guess one would call like a modernist. But I think that the process of the house, and because I think we're quite like soft personalities, neither of us are what we would call like a red personality. So yeah, we worked together really well. And I think in doing that, I think we've kind of meshed our styles together quite successfully.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's given me free rein to put my pops of colour and my quirks on things, and when he thinks it's a little bit ridiculous, I just kind of ignore it.
And the other thing is because Daniela had quite like this very eclectic, rich taste, I was quite deliberate in the design of the house, especially the interior architecture, that it was very pared down, that we didn't have the kind of interior like architecture then fighting with this very like rich use of color and patterns. So if you look at the materiality in the house, it's actually really simple. There's only like 3 or 4 finishes that we've used throughout the house that are permanent, or what I would call like baked in. So floor finishes, wall finishes, but for the most part it's really the furnishings, wallpapers and stuff that kind of bring the character and the personality to life in the house.
Stay with us. After the break, we explore more of this beautiful family home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we are visiting a house designed by architect Adrian Morris. Adrian and his wife Daniela have opened up their home to us, sharing their take on a classic barn-like exterior with a touch of eclectic in the interior. Before the break, we enjoyed the open-plan flow from entrance through the lounge and dining area and ending up in the light-filled kitchen. But with South Africa being known for its incredible weather, I can't wait to see how the flow continues onto the stoep. Wow, I must say, I really love how the interior sort of spills out into the exterior and overlooks this beautiful farmland.
Thanks. I mean, one of the primary reasons we bought the property was exactly because of the view. So when we came to view it for the first time, this area was completely overgrown, and I walked up to the back of the stand and it kind of opened up to this view where you just see the tree line into the next valley to the horizon. So we kind of took that as the premise why we bought the place, and we've designed the whole ground floor experience around opening out onto this view. So, the lounge and the dining all opens up onto this big patio, and this whole building on the front is designed as this like little modern pavilion which lives out onto the view and onto the garden. And one of the things I always try and do with homes, especially where you have like outdoor living spaces leading onto the garden, is not just to go onto the garden but to create these kind of layered outdoor rooms. So the site has quite a steep slope to it, so rises about 10 meters from the road to the back of the property. So we leveled out this whole area that it creates this really soft like landing from the inside of the house to the outside. And then there's these big retaining walls which dip down to what we're starting to develop as this like our own park, I suppose you can call it. We've planted like a line of trees, and in time that'll develop into this like little secret park. And we're starting to develop a little forest of olive trees which kind of meander down the driveway. So for us, it's just like on the inside of the house, how we've created these different layers of experiences and spaces, and we've kind of carried that through to the outside. We're trying to do the same with the garden. Obviously, gardens take a very long time to develop, but you know, there is a bit of a master plan, but it's also, I think, you know, finding new ideas and just experimenting with things and enjoying having fun with developing the house. Yeah, so for me, it's really about kind of creating these layered, structured gardens, which then lead you into the garden. And we're obviously very fortunate here to have a really generous garden, so it's nice to kind of be able to play with these spaces.
Adrian, your situation is quite special. I mean, you're the architect and homeowner. So how did you translate your personal style into what is considered a traditional sort of aesthetic?
So I really have a kind of passion for old buildings, so be they barns or churches or factories, and I also really enjoy when old buildings get repurposed. So I think there's something in that I try to bring into the house. I have a little philosophy that I try to bring to the homes that I design. It's about having a respect for the past but an eye to the future. So I try to kind of balance those two together. So if you look at the house as an architectural piece of design, you know, it's just really it's a simple barn. We played with the roof to create this little kind of traditional monitor roof at the top, which sits over the pajama lounge upstairs, and it kind of draws the morning and the afternoon light into the pajama lounge. And then we created this very modern pavilion, which we kind of clipped onto the front of the building. And that's got this outdoor living area, it's got the outdoor kitchen, it's got like a studio on the one side, and above us is a big generous roof garden that the rooms open out onto and gives you these views out onto the horizon. So, you know, it was quite a simple process. You know, there's kind of little architectural gems and things that I'd seen over time or travels and always thought, oh, that would make a nice element in a home. So I think it was about kind of cobbling those together in a way without trying to do every idea, and just curating it that the building also felt kind of quite timeless and relaxed, and it didn't look like it was trying too hard to be something that it's not.
Yeah, and you mentioned this was 2 years in the making.
Yeah, so it took a lot longer. It took us 2 years to find the property. We looked forever in this area, and we only ever found properties where it had a house but in the worst possible position. We eventually came across this property, and then it was probably about an 18-month process between getting funding and getting the design done. And then we had it was about a 3-year build process between the stables, the renovation, and then the new build here.
Well, for what it's worth, I think it was well worth the wait.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see the view from upstairs. Should we have a look?
Great. Yeah.
As you make your way through Adrian and Daniela's home, it is very clear that the house lends itself to comfortable family living. There's a serenity thanks to the neutral color palette and strong architectural features, but a sense of warmth thanks to Daniela's quirky styling.
I'm still busy finding pieces, but yeah, it's family photos, art pieces.
As we ascend to the top floor through the light-filled stairway, we meander through memory lane via the gallery wall to the pajama lounge as yet another reminder that this is a true family home.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. Reflection of the emptiness, hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious.
I have to say, this is such a beautiful view. Now talk me through the upstairs area.
So one of the key things when designing the upstairs is we have a real kind of dislike for passages, so we designed the upstairs that there's no passages. So you arrive at the top of the stairs and you walk straight into this large pajama lounge which opens out onto the roof garden, and then you've got the 2 kids' rooms to the one side and our room to the other side. So there's no like interconnecting passages. So it almost like operates as this little like self-contained unit upstairs. We don't use the pajama lounge a lot in summer, but in winter it's definitely like the place where we always go. The fireplace is on, and it just becomes that space where we kind of retreat to at the end of the day. We always loved the kind of idea of roof gardens, like in places like London, New York, you have these amazing apartments with these roof gardens. So it's something we wanted to kind of bring into the house, and because the higher you get, the better the view gets.
And in such a built up city, we feel like we're quite far away here, you know, here with all the trees and...
Oh, and I'm just in love with the fireplace out here. It really feels like one of those special spots in the home where you make those really magical moments as a family.
Yeah, well, also why we also did this little section of our bedroom with the fireplace is also when the kids grow up a little bit and are in those teenage years, we have our own special hideout while they presumably take over the rest of the house, as they do. So at least we have our little private space.
Yeah, I mean, it also ties back to our love of like really cool hotels. So we designed our room in this area almost like it's just like, you know, like a really cool suite in a boutique hotel. So that is sort of some of the inspiration that came through.
As a home that ticks the boxes of farmhouse, entertainer's haven, family home and boutique hotel, it's hard to believe bustling Sandton is just over the hill. After the break, we meet up with interior designer Heather Boating for some Ralph Lauren inspiration. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we visited a magical family home designed by architect Adrian Morris. A house that has a strong resemblance to classical barn architecture, but with a warm and cozy interior, thanks to wife and fashionista Daniela. With inspiration for the interior drawn from Ralph Lauren, I decided to visit interior designer Heather Boating to see how one can create your own Ralph Lauren-inspired look at home. Heather, the moment I walked into Adrian and Daniela's home, I thought, Ralph Lauren, eat your heart out. That's, of course, my own personal take on this. How would you personally define this style?
So, on researching Ralph Lauren's style, I think it's quintessentially textures. There's a relaxed warmth that he exudes in all of his interiors.
And I would say probably this style is almost universally applicable. How do we bring it back home into the South African context?
So again, with his style being so adaptive to his environment, he was heavily influenced by coastal homes. So their ranges go from your more whites, your lighter blue palettes, all the way to really heavy masculine, inspired by his Colorado ranch, which influences the horses, the textured fabrics, your furs, and your chunkier knits and weaves. Bringing it home, I gravitated towards the blue color palette and still included the textures, I would say, but sticking to the blues, we don't have a long enough winter to really go towards that heavy dark interior. So combining it with your linens and your neutral blue color palette, it really resonated with the South African homes.
Yeah, I must say, as soon as I saw the blue and white, I thought Heather is swooning here. But how do you incorporate other colors?
So Ralph Lauren's style definitely includes beautiful florals. So his color palette ranges from those introductions of red, your greens, and some yellows as well. And his American flag is sometimes used in a lot of his interiors, with the checks, the stripes, and the stars. And I think that red color palette can definitely have a nice pop towards the blue.
With such a traditional style, are there ways to use texture to make it a little bit more contemporary?
So Ralph Lauren really, I feel, nails the texture brief. And I was inspired by a quote which his fashion was meant to be worn, and I feel his interiors are meant to be lived in. So the consideration of textures, the longevity of pieces, and that play on floral with your masculine stripes and plains, I think the longevity is certainly going to be there, and I think easily enough for us to introduce into a South African market and home.
And help me understand what fabrics to use in this case.
His style definitely introduces some checks, some plains, some stripes, and all the way through to a lovely textured and woven boucle fabric.
So this is quite a full aesthetic, I feel. Do you think that this is something one could apply, say, to a small apartment?
Absolutely. It will certainly translate beautifully into a smaller apartment. I would keep to keeping your big key ticket items like your sofas and your curtains in your planes, and then have fun with all the playful florals, checks and stripes that you can introduce with your scatter cushions. Another key element is going to be the equestrian inspired accessories that you can bring into the space with a horse sculpture. There's some lovely door handles which are inspired by some horseshoes, some wooden frames and some ambient lighting.
And I see you've included some of these accessories here in the beautiful spread that you put together. Can you talk us through some of the elements that you've chosen for us today?
Definitely. I think, again, texture is going to be key when we go through the display. But picking up on those amber tones with your glassware and cut glassware, we've got your lovely Hessian bag jute rugs that you can introduce into a space, as well as a grass cloth wallpaper, which I feel will really just introduce and evoke that sense of warmth into a room. And then again, just subtle details on those leather trims, again inspired by the equestrian horses. So I think objet would be a really fun application that you could be playful with. I've included some textured frames, for instance, again just in a lovely wood or with a brass inlay. It just adds that sophistication to the color palette. Again, we're talking about style with Ralph Lauren as well, so I think just as much as is fashion, you want the interior to translate to quality as well as style and class.
Well, we were lucky enough to be invited into a family home to explore this style. But would you say there's an age restriction to this style? I mean, it is traditional after all.
I certainly don't feel that there's an age limit that's going to be applied to the Ralph Lauren style. I've seen absolutely exquisite young boys' rooms that were decorated in the stripes and stars and introducing that lovely royal and navy blue scheme, all the way through to traditional library spaces and home offices where we've panelled with the lovely grass cloth wallpaper, and then again introducing lovely diverse scatter cushions in various fabrics and textures.
So if we really want to knock this aesthetic out of the park, what would you say are the 3 guiding principles?
3 guiding principles would be to combine certain florals with your stripes, with your plains. So I think have fun in that regard. Don't be afraid. One would think that the stripes and the checks might be very coastal and your florals more inland, but I think combining those 2 aesthetics would be really, really important. Another key element would be warmth. Ralph Lauren's style, certainly the minute you would walk into one of his homes or interiors, there's that warmth that is conveyed. That's due to lighting, as well as the use of woods and the warmer tones of interiors.